Welcome, everyone. This is Tim Laskus, and you're listening to The Tim Laskus Show. This is episode 85. Today's featured guest is Melissa Reed. She's a fantastic person, and she has a product that is going to make her and her family millions. She has a fascinating story of traveling to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Hey, I live in South Carolina, not at the beach, but I'm in South Carolina, a couple hours away from Myrtle Beach. But anyway, she came all the way from Iowa in a plane to Myrtle Beach, and she had one of those moments where she had bought her kids sand buckets, and on the way home they would not fit in the luggage, so she had to throw them away, and she thought there's got to be a better way. So she had sketched her idea on a napkin, and the rest is history, and she has a wonderful story that she shares with you. So I hope that you're going to enjoy this. So enjoy.
The Tim Laskus Show, in search of entrepreneurial gold. Tim digs deep into the minds of his guests, entertaining, down to earth, and informative. Now, here's your host, Tim Laskus.
Hey, I know you were telling me all about being in Iowa and that you're an avid bike rider and all that stuff. So is that what you do when you're not working so much, as you're outside enjoying just the great outdoors?
Yeah, and we've had an awesome summer. It hasn't been too humid, and so I've been able to be out on the bike almost every single day. So taking up a lot of the summer, but fun things to do with my family. We all like to ride bikes.
Well, I'll tell you, I like to spend as much time outside as I can. I'm not a big fan of being inside, and I get cabin fever really easy, so I'm with you as far as being outside. But anyway, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, Melissa, and what are you currently working on?
Yeah, I'm just glad to be here again from Iowa. I actually invented a product, packable pails. It's a collapsible beach pail, and brought it to market about 2 years ago, and have just been working the last year really on, we had secured a lot of small retailers, and this last year just really working on big ones like Bed Bath & Beyond, Ace Hardware, just bigger companies that you'll be able to see us all over the United States in stores.
Well, I think listeners are probably scratching their heads right now. They're going, wait a minute. Packable pail, because this is a beach pail, right?
Absolutely.
But you live in Iowa, so how in the world did these two come together? How did this work out?
Well, Iowa is known for its beaches, not. But being in Iowa, one of our favorite things to do when we do have time to go on vacation is go to a beach. And so with having a young son, my husband and I would pack everything up. I even was the one on the airplane. I had my swimsuit on under my clothes, everything ready to run to the beach as soon as we got there. And it was actually on one of those family vacations that I came up with the idea for a collapsible beach pail.
Well, that is great, because I know I've got a couple of those traditional standard pails, and they take up a lot of space, a lot of room. And so was that kind of the idea, is like, man, how do I get all this stuff to the beach in a more kind of smaller kind of, I don't know, but fits everything in my bag?
Well, yeah, and like my son, anything he gets, he wants to save, whether it's a sticker, receipt, whatever. So we were on a vacation actually out in Myrtle Beach, and we had, got to the beach. I had our swimsuits ready to go. We look around, and my son, I think he was about 4 at the time, 5, he goes, "Mom, I want a beach pail." Of course, there was none there. We had to pack up, go and buy one. And then when we were leaving to get onto the airplane, he said, "Mommy, I want to take that with me." I said, "No, that's not going to be my carry-on. It won't fit in my suitcase." He threw a fit, and we threw it away. And I thought, gosh, that was silly. We used it for 2-3 days, and now I threw it away. Actually, on the way home, I sketched the idea for the beach pail on a napkin, and got home, started doing some research, and thought, gosh, there's got to be a beach pail out there that collapses. And no, there wasn't.
Wow, well, that is incredible. So it all started, with your son and him wanting to take this beach ball on the plane. When, and you mentioned Myrtle Beach, which is, I'm in the state of South Carolina. I'm in Columbia, not too far away from Myrtle Beach. So Yeah, there's lots of beach pails down there. You can sometimes find them laying around the beach because people know that it's like, hey, I don't have room in my suitcase. I don't have room to take these back. And so this started the whole idea for you from a sketch. And so once you made this sketch on the plane, what was kind of your next step?
Well, I had no background in making an invention, except I will tell you I won the invention convention when I was in third grade. But anyway, other than that, I had no background. So my dad had worked with a company overseas and made transformers, and him and I got to talking, and we got a CAD drawing, and I got quotes from companies that wanted 20, 40, outrageous amount of money to make a mold for me, as well as I had to commit to buying 10, 20,000 beach pails. So that's a lot of money. And just doing a lot of research, I was able to narrow it down. And actually, I spent less than $1,000 on my first mold.
Oh, wow. Well, that's excellent. And thank goodness you knew someone because, yeah, that's a big expense. And that would have stopped most people in their tracks because they thought, man, I can't afford to pay for 30,000 units. And this is a big investment. You don't know if it's going to sell. And, did you kind of run your idea by anyone and say, hey, I've got this idea for these collapsible pails. What do you think? What were people what was the feedback if you asked?
I ran it by a few close friends and family members, and most people just said to me, oh, I don't have any idea how you would even do that, and some big guy's just going to steal your idea anyway, and it's going to cost lots of money, but it is a really good idea. But the thing that sold me on it was when I came up with the name Packable Pails, and that domain was available. It just to me was a sign that I needed to go for it.
There you go. So it seemed like the stars were lining up for you.
Yeah. And, when I found a manufacturer that would let me start with ordering 500 pails, I thought, you know what, I can sell 500. And if that's what it takes, and it doesn't take off, I can sell 500. Well, our product debuted on the Today Show, and I sold all of those in one day.
Wow. Now, did you have any idea was that like a total shock to you that like all these just disappeared right after being on the show?
Yeah, I had no idea. I knew I had met a friend, and she said, you know what, I know this guy, and he's got this show, and sometimes he goes on like Today Show and things like that, and he's looking for a beach product. I mean, it just all lined up. And so he was on their show and showed my beach pail and said, this is Melissa from Iowa. And before it even aired, basically, I had sold out. Now, that was a good thing, but the bad thing was then I didn't have any for the rest of the summer.
Oh, because completely wiped out.
Completely wiped out. And, when you're ordering something like that, having it made overseas, I had no idea about, the Chinese New Year and the holidays and how long it took to get something on a barge. So I learned a lot real quick.
Now, before you got on the show, when you were trying to sell them, were you just using your website as your main kind of avenue, or were you going door to door? What were you doing to kind of get the ball rolling and to get some units sold?
First thing, I live in a small town, but we're right next to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And the first thing I did was I went to all the grocery stores, hardware stores, any little mom and pop store, and would just walk in, show them my beach pail, and say, hey, I got these in my car. I can sell you a dozen right now. And only had one color. And honestly, about half of the vendors took me up on my offer.
Well, that's excellent.
Actually, like the bookstore where I went to college, they put them in the bookstore. So then I was able to start telling people, hey, these are already in 20 other retailers. You guys want to get them too.
That is incredible. So was that kind of your main source of selling them? So were you selling any online, or was it mostly just kind of going door to door at that point?
Mostly going door to door because, I had a website, but at the time, I didn't really have the formulas. I didn't realize how Facebook all worked. And it wasn't until, going on the Today Show, or my biggest break was when we were picked to be one of Oprah's must-haves last summer,
Oh, that's
and
excellent.
featured in Oprah magazine. Then the start started getting us sales and things like that. Yeah.
Got you. So it kind of took for your name to get out there for a while for you really started to have those online sales. Now, have things switched? Has your online sales kind of surpassed the other in-store?
Well, yes and no. We were featured by Jamie Grayson. He's called the Baby Guy, and he did a little promo and basically put my bucket on his head and took a picture, and we sold over 15,000 in 1 week.
Wow, that
Um,
is incredible.
isn't it? But then we started getting big orders from places like the Paper Store, which is kind of like a Hallmark, and places like that were ordering them in lots of 10,000.
Wow, that is incredible. That's awesome. Now, what is kind of your profit margin, like kind of ballpark? What does it take cost to make, and kind of what are you selling them for?
Um, we retail them at $14.99. My wholesale cost is right around $7 is what I sell them for, and I have a 50% margin.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. And what are your goals for the rest of this year in 2017?
We rolled out the beach pails a few months ago with Royal Caribbean, and I just really I'd love to be able to see them in Disney and all kinds of different beach resorts. We have a couple of beach chains that are selling them in their gift shops and things like that. I have an idea I'm working on to kind of reinvent it a little bit, and I think it would be an even bigger market for it. So that's something I've been working on the last couple months. Is just making it, people are like a beach pail, but, we sold a lot at Easter for Easter pails. They're great in the garden. Give your dog a drink on a long trip. I mean, they have a million uses.
That's excellent. So you're kind of branching out to make it more than just being at the beach, but it's all these other uses that will make it attractive to many different people and even their pets. I love that. Now, I think you had mentioned it one time. What is this in Ron John Surf Shop down in Florida as well?
Yes. Yep,
Oh,
and that was actually our first big retail account. It was so exciting to go down to Ron John's and Cocoa Beach and see them sitting on the shelves there. But I also have them in a couple different magazines. So like, Homaker and Magic Cabin, some kids magazines and stuff. There's nothing like it to get the magazine in the mail and your products in there.
yeah, but that's got to be very, very exciting. And again, back to the Ron Johns. I grew up going to Florida as a child and always visiting on vacation, and always would stop at Ron Johns and buy some stuff and get those stickers and slap it on the back of my parents' car. And yeah, like good memories. Well, Melissa, I know there's a lot of people out there who are listening who may have a product or something they're working on. Do you have any tips for them to help them kind of get over that hump of taking it from idea to actually having a physical product?
One thing I thought was really helpful is there's a website. It's called Alibaba. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, to go on there first and just see, hey, does this product even exist? Because if it exists, it's on there. So
Okay.
that's a great way. Like, I've come up with some other different ideas and gone on there and been like, oh, well, I guess this is already made. It's a quick way. The other, go to your library. Your library has so many books and resources. There's that NOLO series. And I've used so many of those books. I did my own patent, my own trademark, my own copyright, everything myself. So saved a lot of money, but learned a lot too.
What was that series, the book series you were talking about? Nolo?
Yeah, NOLO. And a lot of libraries have it. Obviously, you can buy them at a bookstore and stuff, but I just borrowed them from my library and wrote my first provisional patent.
So is the book on patents, or it's just about legal information on business itself?
They have a whole series, so you can pick specifically what you're looking for. If you're looking how to trademark a business, how to write a patent, they have a whole series of books to help you.
Gotcha. Now, speaking of patents, so do you have, what kind of patent do you have on your collapsible pails?
I have a utility patent.
And for people who don't understand what that is, explain a little bit, what is a utility patent?
So our patent basically protects somebody else making a square bucket that collapses. So it incorporates some of the design, but the utility of it, meaning that it's the shape and how it looks, is our patent.
Got it. Now, how have you had to go out and reinforce and send anyone notice, like, hey, I've got the patent on this and you're on my territory?
Yeah, and unfortunately, Amazon is a fabulous thing, and it's horrible because that's probably the number one that my attorney has to deal with is Amazon. Somebody bringing something out and it looks similar. Maybe the colors. I've even had other companies selling my exact pail and calling it something else. So.
Wow. And so you've had to sick your attorney on them like a pit bull, huh?
Pretty much, yes. And it's amazing because, like Amazon, if you have the right attorney and paperwork, they'll get it down in 24 hours.
Oh, that's great. Well, that is excellent. And so, would you, because it sounds like, people kind of told you in the beginning, like, oh, don't do it, somebody will steal your idea. Should that be a real concern or a fear for someone starting out?
I really don't think so. Some of my bestest friends that I've met now from doing inventions and things like that have tons of copycat products. But if people get to know you and the product, then they're gonna buy it from you. I mean, I'll put on my website all the time, hey, look at this funny one. This is another knockoff. So no, I would go for it.
Absolutely. And when did you first realize you had this entrepreneurial spirit? I think you mentioned something earlier about being young, but how far back does it go? Were you selling the your bottled milk? Were you selling your own diapers as a baby? Like, trying to, I mean, how far back does it go, Melissa?
Well, the farthest back truly is, do you remember Beanie Babies?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Used to have a collection of those.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, I was the biggest trader. In my college dorm, that's what I did. I traded, bought, and sold Beanie Babies.
That's awesome. So you were named the Beanie Baby Queen, right?
Pretty much. Like, I would go over to the college bookstore, and I had an inn, and so they would sell them to me, and then I had this American Trio. I had several sets. I would sell them for $1,400.
Wow.
On this Beanie Baby trade site. So that's about as far back as I can remember. The funny thing is, in third grade, I invented this thing. It was called a little dripper to hold your popsicle. And those are actually on the market today. Obviously, I didn't get credit or I didn't invent it, but it just shows you.
Wow, that's excellent. So did you make more money selling Beanie Babies more so than packable pails?
Well, no, but but relatively speaking, when you're in college, it was pretty good money.
Right, when you make $10 or $15, you're like, yeah, this is awesome as a college student. Anything coming in.
Or when you would spend $15 and turn around and sell it for $1,200, it was pretty nice.
Woo. Yeah, you weren't messing around. You weren't making a couple of dollars. You were making thousands of dollars. You were making it rain money.
Yeah, I was a little shark in the Beanie Baby world.
You were the original shark from the Shark Tank.
There you go.
Now, Melissa, let's move into the dig round where I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions and just give me first thing that comes to mind. What keeps you motivated daily?
I love getting pictures from customers. I mean, anytime I get a picture from a customer and they're on their family vacation, that keeps me motivated. and they say, oh, we had a great memory, and now look what we're doing. Now we have your beach pail, we're in the garden, and just, it really enforces family time, and I love that.
Yeah, well, it sounds like people just are reinforcing that they love your product, and I'm sure that brings a smile to your face. Now, who do you look up to as a business leader?
I've got to look at Jennifer Telfer. She came up with Pillow Pets. I also look at other female inventors that invented products, like the lady that came up with Gibbets. Remember her? She sold her company for $10 million.
What was her name?
Her name was Sherry Smelzner.
Okay.
And she came up with those little gibbets that went on your Crocs.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, mom sold that for $10 million.
Wow. Now, if someone offered you $20 million for all rights to your product, are you selling it today?
Ooh. I'd have to run some numbers, Tim.
How about $100 million? Would you have to think?
Done. Goodbye.
There you go. That's awesome. Now, if you have to choose one, street smarts versus book smarts, which one are you going for?
I think in this arena, I have my MBA, my MSW, but I'm going to go with street smarts because I know a lot of people that have made really bad decisions.
Yeah, sometimes theory just doesn't translate into real world kind of how things work. So I agree. Now, I'm sure since you've started this, how long ago did you start it? When did you first have your first actual physical, I don't know, maybe your first packable pail? How long ago was it?
July 2015, I had my first ones in my hand on July 1st, and on July 3rd, we were on the Today Show.
Gotcha. So since July 2015, has there been a time where you felt just mentally taxed, where you're like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I'm ready to quit. Was there a moment like that during this journey?
Yeah, I started in 2014, and, it is so hard to work with people. We were trying to work with people overseas that didn't speak English, and even just the time, I had to stay up at midnight and be on Skype with people and then go to my day job, so I'd be up 2-3 hours, and then one after another, they'd send me a prototype, and it just didn't work. And I was just at the point where, you know what, I've invested about $1,500. I think I'm just done.
So what helped you push through that?
I really, my family, my husband was just very supportive, and he just kept telling me, you're almost there. You almost got it. So that really was helpful. But I was exhausted, and I'd be so excited, and I'd get these packages that I paid to airmail over and open it. And one of them was the size of like a mini bathtub. I'm like, that's not a beach pail. That is just awful. That's not even close.
You're right. Well, it sounds like you had a really great support network with your family who were there to give you that kind of cheer you along and get you across the finish line. And looking back, what would you say is one of the most memorable moments of this journey with Packable Pails?
Probably, I remember the day that I knew Oprah magazine was coming out, and my son and my husband and I went to our local bookstore and got it. And when I turned the page and saw my invention there on the O list, that was just an amazing day.
Yeah, anybody who's Oprah kind of, it touches it. It really is. I hear that it's a wonderful experience because, so many people look up to her, and for her to choose one of your products is just a great honor. So I'm sure that must have been amazing for you. Well, Melissa, this has been a really great story and just, so inspiring, and to hear your journey. I'm sure lots of people are just loving this. And unfortunately, we ran out of time. But before we go, tell the listeners where they can find Packable Pails online.
Well, you can go to our website, www.packabletales.com, or find me on Instagram at packabletales or Facebook at packabletales. And reach out to us. We love to hear from you.
And what are a couple of the retailers again who carries the Packable Pails?
Kohl's does, Magic Cabin, Ron John's, and then this next coming year you'll be able to get them at Bed Bath & Beyond, couple Academy Sports, couple other big retailers I can't really release quite yet.
Okay, well, excellent.
Toys
R Us?
Yeah.
All right, and Toys R Us. So there you go. You got Toys R Us, Kohl's, Magic Cabin, Ron John, Bed Bath & Beyond, Academy Sports, and of course online at packablepales.com. Melissa, thank you. You've been a fantastic guest, and I'm excited to follow you on this journey and maybe even more products to come in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Bye.
Want more entrepreneurial tips? Go to timlaskus.com.